letting go of friendships that no longer aligned, relationships that failed us, and attachments we held onto far too long. Truths were exposed, masks fell, cycles ended so growth could begin. 2026 is the year of the... It is. That's not the sound of a horse, but I tried. It's the year of the horse. Anybody born in the year of the horse? No one? Okay. This is a year of strength, momentum, opportunity, and alignment. Forward movement with purpose. So be mindful how you close out these next, I'm going to say 96 hours. Because we are not bringing old energy into what's meant to run free. I don't know where you guys are at with closing of 2025, but literally today is the last Sunday. And I've spoken how, this year we kind of journeyed away from getting ourselves out of fear-minded over love over fear, and how often we wear spacesuits when we go out into the world. We've learned to wear different kinds of suits, the cynic or the mother or the goody good child, or, we wear these different suits. And not only that, when there's so much chaos and things breaking apart, everything feels like you're kind of splattering all the water in the pool, right? You can't see anything. And you can't see it because there's too much motion. You have to stay still enough for the water to calm down. And then maybe you might be able to see something reflected back to you. But the poem tells us that 2025 was a year of shedding. And I'm wondering what kind of discernment tools we need to enter the new year. And the text today, wow. I wish we had more men in our service today, just because I'm going to talk about divine feminine, divine masculine energy here. But somebody asked, how do you know the difference between intuition and escapism or wishful thinking? And I want to say intuition will always bring a dose of courage. Intuition requires a dose of courage on your part, meaning if it's just wishful thinking or kind of escapism thinking, you're not really putting yourself in, you're bypassing. And so we want to be able to understand what we can do with this text. And mind you, when you shed, you let all that go. And certainly after you shed, you don't go back into the mold that you came out of. Would you allow yourself to go in there? No. But once it is shed, you might find yourself a bit more vulnerable. You have new skin on. You might be a bit more fragile, right? You might be a little more soft. And so then you put yourself in safe context, oasis, so that you have enough time to stir up and get strong. Today, a family is forced to leave everything behind because they heard Herod, this really old, bombarding energy. The world was trying to destroy this new thing that was being birthed. And the text tells us that Joseph was warned in a dream, and perhaps he woke up and the intuition, everything says, okay, you got to go. You got to move from this place and go. And there's a dose of courage in there. But imagine if Joseph woke up and thought, you know what? I got this under control. I lived here all my life. I'm going to be okay. And completely disregard the seriousness of the situation. But Joseph, who also shows this masculine divine or masculine or divine feminine kind of energy, whatever it was, he took the message seriously enough that he gets up and doesn't let his ego get in the way, wanting to control, wanting to dominate, wanting to stay in power at all costs. Joseph's discernment was his ability to ignore the loud noise that says, you gotta stay put. There's madness going around. And instead of listening to the divine whisper in his sleep. And with that, the final point of this. I only have 2 points. The second thing is Joseph and Mary, when they had to leave Bethlehem, they had to leave this promised land. Friends, this is the promised land that they were given. And from there, they're asked to leave. Had Joseph went into mode of, wait, hold on, let me think about this first. Let me rationalize. Let me get my notes down first. But he lets that side go. And what about Herod? What kind of energy does he bring? He's the ultimate ego, right? And when he hears that there's a new king and he's been outsmarted, he goes into reactive mode. He's like, kill all the babies. Sorry, we have a baby here with us today. Right? Herod isn't thinking, he's splattering all the water. He's wearing his spacesuit and saying, I ain't going to be outsmarted. How dare you put me in this situation? And instead of reflecting, he uses his rage and it goes into really sour mode. He goes into executive decisions where he really shouldn't be making executive decisions. He's not calm enough. And he knows what he's not willing to let go of. He's holding on to it tight. All the while, ignorant of the divine life that is unfolding right before his nose. He makes a lot of noise, but has no wisdom, because wisdom requires a surface that settles down. Friends, discernment is a tool that allows us to look at our own patterns of clinging and attachment styles and say, I see you. I see where this is coming from. But no longer are you going to govern me. No longer are you going to tell me that that is the truth. We need to learn how to let go of things that no longer serve us. Matthew 2:13 tells us that Joseph rose and took the child and his mother by night. They didn't wait to pack. They didn't wait to explain themselves. Joseph didn't argue with Herod. He didn't try to fix Herod. How many of us would be like, can we talk this out, really? Right? A lot of us would try to fix or try to explain to other people, like, the reason why we need to do this. But he moved instead. Joseph physically moved. They recognized the environment, what had become toxic, and they had the discernment enough to leave behind what was so familiar to them and still leave it behind. Friends, sometimes the most divine lesson in discernment is knowing when to stop explaining yourself to people in situations that are committed to misunderstanding you. This year may have been about letting go of relationships and attachments that no longer serve. And like the Holy Family, we don't want to bring in this old energy into 226. So the question I have for us, friends, what are we clinging on to that's out of habit, that is actually hindering your growth? Are we able to encapsulate if God as Father was all about this dominance and power over, what historically we have not focused enough is this feminine, beautiful, merciful, compassionate side of God that gets undercut. But truly, the Spirit works us where we are able to calm down, to be able to see long enough that there was wisdom trying to peep through. All right, friends, so here's the discussion, small group activity for y'all. The year of the horse is only 4 years away. The hooves, they got to be light to be able to run, okay? So the question for you, answer one of these two questions. Are you listening to Herod in your life? Are there Herods in your life situation where it keeps nagging at you, telling you, no, this is the way how it is? Or are we courageous enough to notice, that is an attachment from the old, and say, I'm no longer let that control me, and I too will no longer be enmeshed and attached to this thing that is not giving me life. So friends, let's discuss with one another what you are willing to let go of. Whatever that is, what are you willing to let go so that new growth can take place? Or just in general, think about, what did you learn this year? What things fell away, and what helped you? And how do you want to move into 2026? Okay, you leave me a mic and I just ask 10 other questions. So just, you know what I'm talking about. Go ahead, I'll give you guys good 10 minutes, 12 minutes to discuss with your small groups. And feel free not to share if you like to just listen. So that's what we'll be doing. Siglinda, Delight, and Amy. Are there sharings that would like to be amplified or shared that you like to share with the larger group? There was, Barbara, yes. Barbara, here's a mic, because we want folks online to be able to hear you as well.
Okay. Well, a lot of you know that I have a lot of stuff that I've been collecting for 50 years in the house where I've been living for 50 years. And with my vision changing a little bit due to age, and that one of these days I may not be able to drive every place, I've decided that I am going to stay in my house where I've lived for 50 years, but live on 2 levels rather than all 3. I'm getting rid of my collection of books that I've loved. I'm getting rid of a lot of the folk art that I have collected in over 40 countries, so all over the world. And so I really feel good about it. I'm not depressed. I'm feeling, it's like there's going to be a weight off, and I'm going to have professional people coming in and getting rid of things professionally. So this is something that in this next year will be taking place in the place where I've lived all these years. But I feel really good about all of the shedding of stuff I don't need.
Wow, Barbara, that's a big decision you made there. You get an applause. Are there other sharings that you want to share? I was watching on the news where they said, how many living voices of women are we willing to deny over a dead man's, right? I don't know the exact quote, but it's regarding Epstein files, which is hidden from us. And meanwhile, we have the lived experience of these hundreds of women, but yet something in our program says we can't believe and trust women. It has to be the man. Well, I don't know how that works, but those kind of old, paradigms and thinking, I think a lot of us know that we're not going to be played on anymore. And so it's so much more important when we recognize truth needs to be told, and we stay courageous, and we resist those temptations by being joyful, being with people who bring out the magic in you, and being with people who believe love is the answer. And this is the message for all of us. I think we leave 2025 understanding everything that we've experienced this year, and to say, I am precious. You are precious. Jesus was precious, and those who are precious were precious enough that they removed themselves away from that things that was, not life-giving. And if you ever thought in your head or in your heart, like, no, I don't know, but if it requires courage, and it requires you to say, yeah, then I wonder if those tools of discernment can help us. Let's pray. Friends, God, we thank you for allowing us just a small time to reflect on this year, to think about and to be grateful for your faithfulness, the ways that you have accompanied us, the ways that you have shown up in ways that you can only explain. God, we are ready to shed the things that no longer is life-giving for us. We are willing to step out of our suit, and we are no longer have the desire to wear the suits that we have outgrown. Allow us to be still enough for the water to settle. Help us to use the eye of our heart to know that we are already safe, that we are already loved, and that we are already whole. We thank you for your mercy and for your grace. Pray all these things in your name. Amen.